Joe, before we begin, I just want to say, you listener at home, we use the website time.gov to synchronize our tracks when we start recording, and you would not believe the absolute pervert shit that is on my screen right now as a result.
So time.gov now shows all the time zones, and I've never seen them laid out visually before because the entire country is carved up in an insane way.
You'd think it'd just be straight lines down, like this. On this side, it's 1 hour. On this side is the other. No.
Yeah, I've lived 30 minutes from Indiana my entire life, right? Just my entire life. And I had no idea that Indiana consists of 2 time zones, and the central time zone is like this notch by northwestern Indiana, and then like
it's
the
a little
nubbin
tail
and the little nubbin. That's
sick.
fucked to me.
It's like oh, okay, a lot of states have 2 time zones because there's a big line going down them. This line ziggy zaggies back and forth. There is central time that is considerably further east than the eastern time chunks. It's insane.
And also the panhandle of Florida is fucked.
Oh, God, it's just, well, it is in the best of times, but it's just gross to see the little sliced off part. It's like a botched circumcision. The real disgusting thing, though, and this is just, like, sickening, like, I see this and I get angry, is that the southern sort of sliver of the upper peninsula of Michigan is just this little layer of fucking central time zone, like a fucking fat layer on a strip of bacon. It's gross.
Yeah, they balkanized the UP. That's really fucked. This sucks.
Bad.
It used to be better because time.gov until, I don't know, like a few months ago, had the worst website on the planet. It looked like shit. It looked like it was from 96. It was something Strong Bad would make on his computer badly as a joke.
It was just a big blank void, and then there was like a 180 by 180 pixel fucking flash window in the middle that barely worked. And it displayed the time, and then it displayed a strange projection of the world with, I think, like the sun, like a big wave over it that was very confusing and hard to parse.
Yeah, but then the Trump administration made good on their promise to relaunch time.gov because it looks nicer now.
Well, it looks nicer, except that we have to see this absolute crime that has been done to our nation, where the line is jagged. Joe, it's jagged. That's really the long and short of it. The line should be a straight line, but it is jagged. And if it were to be jagged, why, at least it should be jagged along the fucking borders of the states. But no, it just takes big bites.
No, I don't know enough about science and astrology to reverse engineer a reason why this makes me a flat earther now, but it has.
I was not aware that it had made me a flat earther, but as soon as you said it, I knew it to be true.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the podcast for geniuses, Anime Sickos. It's the podcast where we look at the 4 pillars of modern misery: anime, gaming, posting, and jobs. I am Tom, an anime sicko.
I am Joe, an anime sicko. Today, we wanted to do a deep dive on our personal history. This isn't going to be like us exploring trauma or anything. This is going to be something more important, which is, what are our horrible gaming origins? What did we play as kids that forever fucked up our reward centers? I know parents should be acutely aware of what games their kids are playing for, like, moderation reasons. A 3-year-old should not be exposed to violence. But they also need to be aware of the kind of games their kids are playing, because it's going to turn them into specific types of gamers.
Mm-hmm. And it's not like you have to make sure your kid isn't playing something that like has vicious violence or unpleasant themes. Like, no, it's much deeper than that. It's about like what kind of brain they're building.
Yeah. like if your kid is into roguelikes, there needs to be like a warning on the store page that says your kid might grow up to be like one of those people online who's like complaining about seed generation and a bunch of other shit that I don't care about. Yeah, that is a future that awaits your child.
You're going to have your child come home to Thanksgiving. He's going to be like 32, and you're going to be like, son, what have you been up to? And like the literal only answer he can give you is going to be like, well, I've been trying to make RNG work for me.
I'll start and talk about a formative gaming experience that has forever ruined me and my expectations. I don't know what year this was. I was like 12, maybe 11. Two things happened in my life. Both of them were computer related.
Mm-hmm.
One, we got broadband internet.
Oh, hell yeah.
Two, I got Diablo 2 at the same time.
So I've never played Diablo 2 or seen footage of it, or I think even seen a screenshot, and I don't know what the genre is or what you do in it. So can you explain literally anything?
Yes. So it's a game where you click. That's fucking it. You just click. It's a top-down action RPG. It's one of those games, and it was one of the first ones kind of like this, where it's all about killing stuff and getting loot, and then having character builds, and then like equipping best in slot stuff and that sort of thing, and endlessly running the same content to get more gear and that sort of thing.
Joe, is this a roguelike?
No, it is. You have persistent. I cannot stress this enough. You have persistent progression. The theme of the game is that it's very goth. Basically, it's like a metal cover. The entire premise of the game, and certainly the original one, is that there's a big devil named Diablo.
Oh fuck!
Yeah, and you gotta kill him. And then in the expansion, the entire premise of the game is that you have to go kill Diablo's, I think, brother, stepson. I don't remember. It's Baal, Baal. He's also associated with hell, as is everything, and that's the game. Yeah.
So, got it. Next question. Who cares? What's the point? Why would you? Why are you? What happened? What was this about?
Well, this was the first game where like the numbies really went up.
Mm-hmm.
I've played JRPGs like growing up on Super Nintendo, and like numbers go up and you get new abilities. This was different because you're only one guy. You have one character. You're just clicking around. And the entire premise of the game is to kill stuff and get treasure that makes you kill stuff better. So for the first time in my life, I think I had a really rewarding gameplay loop that also had an online component, which involved a lot of haggling because there was no like the game had trading, but there was no like auction house. You just had to like yell in chat.
So, Joe, the game had Swap-O-Rama built in.
Yes, yeah. So that's another huge part of it. And I actually met online friends on that I like then talked to like basically through high school, which is sort of wild. But that's the huge part of the game where you're just like a carnival barker trying to trade gems for an item that completes your build.
Okay, so when was the moment where you realized that this game was different? Like, when did the chemical in your brain like curdle and be unable to ever change back?
This specific moment was I had gotten pretty far, and I had built my character. I had a necromancer, and I had built him to shoot like spooky bones, as necromancers do.
Mm-hmm.
And it occurred to me that I actually wanted to make a summoner necromancer, but there was no way to respec, so I just had to start again. And the fact that I started again and did not think I was doing something awful and disgusting was when I was fucked.
Oh no.
I think at some point in a later patch they added respecking, but it doesn't matter because I didn't have it at the time.
So Joe, this game, if I'm understanding you correctly, Basically, it gave you a taste of a world where practicing at a thing rewarded you with the ability to be better at that thing.
I'm going to stop you there because I wouldn't say practicing gets you better at the thing. I think the correct framing is doing something over and over again will eventually drop treasure that will make you feel better.
Fuck. So you became addicted to this feeling, and obviously real life will never do that. Like, doing things in real life will only, like, you're gonna get punished. Like, the only thing that you get rewarded for in real life is like doing crime or graft.
Any reward you do, like doing the right things, is so deferred and diffuse, and like you can't even like appreciate it. It's never the same.
So when once your brain sort of became this way, how did this affect you going forward? Like, in what way? How is your life different now because you played Diablo 2 and let it become your whole brain center?
I have this thing now where I like looking up different classes in video games, even in ones I don't fucking play, because so much of Diablo 2 is like making a character of like the 7 different classes, and they each could be played, multiple different ways. So, let's ballpark it and say that's like 3 types of different ways you could play each class. So you're starting to see the numbers, right? 7 times 3 is 21. You're like, there's a lot of different ways to play. That could be pretty cool. When
you say different ways to play, it's click and numby. Like, that's the only way to play, is that you click and there's a numby.
Oh, I'm saying the difference is whether or not you shoot a red or blue fireball. It doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't fucking matter. But that said, I will go on wikis for games I haven't played and look at like the different classes you can be, because class offerings to me have always, as a result of Diablo 2, been like this really fun thing to look at, even if I have no context for the game. I don't know how the game plays. I looked at Path of Eternity 2, and I was like, these classes seem cool. I don't even know what the game is. What am I saying? But that's an example.
So now, basically, because of this game, if you ever see, regardless of context, like a menu where you have to pick between like a spooky wizard and a strong barbarian, you just start hooting like a big ape and wondering which is the tastiest treat.
Yeah, and I'll like switch between them on the menu to read the description and think about it. And the thing is, I've been playing these action RPGs and like games with class systems like this a lot, and it doesn't fucking matter what class I pick first. I will hate it. I always pick wrong first, and I only discover this like 20 hours after starting.
How do you know though? Like, what how do you know what you're doing? Because is it because you don't like the game? How do you not know that it's just because you don't like the game? Like, maybe it's not the class. Maybe the game just sucks. Like, how do you know?
Well, for starters, it's definitely a grass is always greener thing, right? Where it's just like, I'm taking a lot of damage right now. I'm struggling with this progression. I wonder if this toolkit on this other character would be easier. Eventually I cave and I do it, and it ends up being easier half the time because I'm just better at the game now. So I've lied to myself and tricked myself over countless times like this. And a huge part of it is I don't want to confront the fact that I don't even like these games. I don't want to confront the fact that these games, that no video game will be as engrossing as Diablo 2 when I was like 12. And I'm just chasing the vapors from that time.
So, as a question I gotta ask, and it relates both to what you just said and just in general, as someone who's never played this game and only knows what it is based on what you just said, like, it's on a ton of lists of the best games of all time. I know that everyone loves it and it's fondly remembered by millions, but it doesn't actually like sound fun or good. It sounds like kind of boring and like, why won't I just play Cookie Clicker? So why do you like it? What's good about Diablo 2?
Because like shooting tons of ice at goat people and having them shatter like in mass kicks ass. Like, I don't know what to tell you. And you there's a bunch of demons and bad guys, and you have various powers. You can be a druid and just turn into a bear and maul people.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, like the game has like a lot of character. It's like aggressively like a metal album. It's sort of grim dark, a little hilariously so, but it's like charming and appealing for that reason.
So, Joe, I gotta ask. You're talking about how there's many ways to build your character and how like the game sort of expects you to have multiple builds. Did you ever just get tired of being nice, and you ever just want to go ape shit?
Oh, and you mean to make stupid builds?
Yeah, dumb builds, gimmick builds.
That's also part of the problem I think I had with Diablo 2, which is as soon as you stop getting the feel-good feeling for beating the game with a good build, there's a part of you that's like, well, what if I did something really stupid? Like, what if I made a really dumb build? That means any success I experience is like double success because I'm handicapping myself in an interesting way. One of the best ways to do this, I think, is one of the characters is a barbarian, and the barbarian is all about swinging your big fucking sword or hammer and yelling. He had a bunch of war shouts that buffed you and hurt enemies.
Mm-hmm.
There were throwing weapons in the game, and they were all garbage. Like, they were all crappy quality. They were meant to just be like shit you sell. They were never useful. The fun thing to do is to make a throwing barbarian because it's a game where the barbarian is supposed to be this huge guy with a hammer who smushes an entire wave of enemies. And then you play him as this guy who's like basically just throwing spoons everywhere.
And yelling.
Yeah, and there was like one skill called Fury that again was intended for like melee stuff. It's as you hit and deal damage, you start building up Fury, and it makes you go faster. For whatever reason, that worked with throwing shit.
Oh, fuck.
So, you start throwing like 8 spoons, and then by the time you're throwing that 10th spoon, you're like a fork tornado. You're just like whipping axes and dumb shit at like just Looney Tunes level of speed. And to be clear, it does like no damage. Like, you are becoming a machine gun to do less damage than if you just played normally, like a normal brained person.
So the barbarian is supposed to be like this avatar of combat that like uses his innate sort of instincts for war to become a bringer of death, and you wanted to play him as like the worst guy to have at the food court.
yeah, for sure. You play him like he's just like a drunk guy who went to one of those throwing axe places once. And it's really fun.
So I gotta ask you about the graphics, because you're describing cool things, and I'm looking at the screenshots right now, and it's one of those isometric RPGs that's like your character is like a million miles away, and the camera is like in the sky, and everything's very small.
I think you're overstating it a little bit. I don't think it's quite that zoomed out.
But it's one of those things where it's like it's all the cool shit you're describing, like shooting ice at a goat person and them exploding. Like, what I want that to be is like a Dark Souls, like where you're right in it and you get to see it, and the goat guy is real big and then he turns to red crystals. That sounds fucking dope to me. But this is so small. Like, I bet that if you were to equip a sword that had an eye in the hilt in this game, that you couldn't even see it on your guy. Am I wrong? Prove me wrong.
So this is where you need to eat shit, because Diablo 2 is one of the first games I've ever played where actually equipping shit changed how you looked.
Oh shit! Now I see why this hooked you as a kid.
Yeah,
Fuck.
yeah. Now, not everything, and everything had unique models. But if you hold a hammer, it looks like a hammer, and also like the high end armor actually showed up on your dude. And
oh fuck.
Yep. Yeah.
And you had to go to Swaparama to get it.
Yeah, Swaparama was again yelling in chat channels, and then you would make a game, and then people would come bargain and yell at you. I remember. So gold in the game is like not really that useful. Like, you use it to buy like potions and like just sort of maintenance stuff. Like, whatever, gold was whatever. So you would never trade another player gold for something. But you also needed like some stand-in for currency, because if everything was a direct barter, it would be a nightmare to get anything done, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when I played, everything had value in S.O.Gs, which were short for Stone of Jordans, which were like a de facto currency because they were this ring you would put on and it would give you +1 to all skills. And it might have had some other stats on there that I don't remember. And the funny thing being is that the rings were good, certainly, but they weren't even like the best in slot for many characters. So they just became a de facto currency arbitrarily.
It was just a basic thing that they could compare to everything else.
Yeah, and people in chat would yell like, I want this, and I'm willing to give 3 S.O.Js for this. Or they would talk about its value in Stone of Jordans, which is fantastic.
So I'm not super up on it, but I am pretty sure that Diablo 3 has like a dedicated auction house with like specific like currency, and you can actually like use real money, and it's very official and it's very like organized. Am I wrong that that's like the worst thing they could have possibly done?
The real money thing happened at launch, and then they said big oopsie because scams were happening. It was just a fucking stupid idea. The idea of an auction house is sort of a double-edged sword for me because it's actually better. You have to spend less time like yelling at other players and then making a bunch of deals that don't go through and shit like that. So the auction house format is way better. Respects your time. It's just, I think, a better interface in a game where you trade shit. That said, the addictive nature of it when you're like 12 is that you're a carnival barker and you're like running the tables, trading all this dumb shit, which you can't quite get with the auction house. It's the same way World of Warcraft is like better now in the sense that there's tons of quality life stuff. Whereas like if you want to do a dungeon, you can just like queue up and it'll find players for you. Like when WoW first launched, there was no like group finder. So you just had to fucking yell for people to do a dungeon. And that is way worse. However, there was still something, I don't know, rewarding about that because the act of like getting a group together was itself a social accomplishment.
I think the key is that no game that ever respects your time will ever grasp your brain with both hands like a game that you need to like jimmy the progress out of will. A game that respects your time is going to give you what you want from it, and you're going to be like, thank you very much, give it a firm handshake, and walk away. Diablo 2 sounds to me, it's just like, hey, here's my menu of guys. Do you want to come to Swaparama and trade some S.O.Gs?
That's basically it. The other thing that was really addictive about it is that you have shared inventory space across all your characters. You have like a stash.
Fuck.
So what inevitably happens is you're playing your stupid fucking barbarian and you get an insanely good drop for another character, and all of a sudden you're like, well, I guess I have to make this character now and do a build around this thing.
God.
Oh, the other thing that kept it relatively fresh is that the areas in the game like were distinct, but they were randomized, right? Like there were all these things that could be in a given area, but how they're laid out on the map is random for every game. So every time you're joining a game, it's a new layout. So every time you're joining a buddy to help him do something, it's a different layout. So there's like a level of freshness and novelty there that's kind of appealing. It's not quite the full-on, every run is different roguelike shit, but there's enough newness there to kind of massage your brain, telling you to keep going.
God, Diablo 2 sounds sick.
Yeah, I played 3 after they undid the worst parts of the initial launch, and it was serviceable. It was fun, whatever.
But it was never quite what hit you as a little baby Joe.
No, and I don't think it'll hit anyone. No Diablo game, I don't think, will ever capture quite the phenomenon of Diablo 2. So they're working on Diablo 4 right now, and it could be the best game they've made, but there's no chance it's going to hit the feel-good part of my brain the way Diablo 2 did, because that's a mix of like a good game and nostalgia.
But even so, even though you know that, the switch was flipped.
Yeah, I know that, but I'm like a gambler who's like, well, maybe this time will be different though. Like I'm playing blackjack, I'm at 20, and I'm like, well, I'm feeling lucky. Maybe hit me.
So my game is sort of a weird pick for me, but at the same time, like, it makes so much sense because it is the 2003 GameCube racing game F-Zero GX. Now here's the thing, I don't like racing games like at all. And
yeah, I don't give a shit about racing games either. I especially don't like them when they're realistic.
Yeah, I've never played another racing game. Anytime there's a racing game where the brake button is intended to be used, I get so fucking mad.
The only acceptable use of brake is if it's how you drift, is my opinion.
Yeah, I guess. But even that, you could just... Like F-Zero, I'll get into this mechanics of F-Zero GX, but in F-Zero GX, you're constantly drifting, and you never hit the brake button. The only acceptable use of the brake button is when you're so far ahead of your friend that you brake right before the finish line and wait there, and then you shoot across as they're getting close to troll them.
That's awful. I would physically hurt you.
Yeah, I mean, you'd be right too. But that's the only reason you would put a brake in the game. That said, fucking the thing about F-Zero GX is that it is an insanely complex and deep game, and it's also crazily difficult because you're in these, it's F-Zero, one of Nintendo's ostensible flagship franchises. Captain Falcon, you'll remember him from Super Smash Brothers. He's the main guy. He's driving his little car, and you're all just little fucking future guys driving little cars that float on crazy tracks in the sky. And because it's sort of like anti-gravity, the tracks can do loop-de-loops, and they can change from just a flat surface into like a tube, and you can go all around the cylinder and such. And you go at something like 1,500 kilometers an hour, and as a result, it's extremely difficult to fucking control your car and not hit the walls or fall off and die. And it just demands an insane level of skill and mastery from you in order to do something that, like, it's fucking go around in a circle. Like, who cares? And fucking yet, this game, as I said before, grabbed hold of my brain with both hands and didn't let go for years.
I remember renting this and actually hating it because I played the N64 F-Zero a lot, and that game was fast. The GameCube one was so fast, I remember being like almost motion sick.
Yeah.
And this is as someone who plays games all the time, so I was not used to getting motion sickness from a video game. I was like, oh, I'm having a hemorrhage. Like, it's over for me. And I haven't really gotten motion sickness from a game since. So the fact that the thing that was too much for me was this fucking GameCube game.
I mean, you're not fucking wrong. Like, the part of the crazy thing about F-Zero GX is that there has not been another game that scratches that itch, that does the same thing in the 17 years since. Like, there just has not been one. It just went so fucking hard in that weird niche direction. And no other game has ever dared to go where it went, because here's the thing, it sold very poorly. And it's funny that you should mention that you played it and immediately hated it, because it is one of those games that takes a lot of practice to get at all competent at. Like, people talk about, like, a key skill is memorizing all of the tracks. And that's not like a key skill for getting a dope time trial score. Memorizing the tracks is required to finish them without your car exploding.
Yeah, because if you slightly underturn, you go into space and explode.
Exactly.
I remember, it pissed me off. I don't have any patience for a game that challenges me that hard from the jump, where I'm not also a wizard.
I sympathize with you, because here's the thing. as a racing game, ostensibly, like I don't consider it a racing game because like
what is it?
It's a game where you are given an extremely difficult task with incredibly complex mechanics, and you have to do it with mechanical perfection.
Oh, so the
fact that you're racing is irrelevant, which is like there is a multiplayer which is just goofy. It is like a joke that they put multiplayer in this game, because what it is the one person who knows how to play does the track right, and everyone else becomes extremely furious and gives up before the race is over.
So you don't see it as a racing game, you see it as like a weird version of Marble Madness.
Yes. It's actually funny you should mention that. The engine that it runs on is a modified version of the Super Monkey Ball 2 engine, which is just Marble Madness. It is just make the ball go the right place. It hard.
Yeah, I like Monkey Ball, but it's also not Mach 3 the way F-Zero is.
It is truly ridiculous how fast you go and how little margin for error there is. But at the same time, like, when you get good at it, you get so fucking good. Like, for this segment, I rewatched some footage of people playing F-Zero, and the time trials of like the people who are good at it, it looks like the easiest game in the world, because they're just always turning the right way. They know exactly what to do. They're never in danger. And it's just like, you can get there. And I did get there because motherfucker, I had nothing else to do as a teenager. I didn't have any fucking friends.
I think that's also a huge fundamental point about these formative gaming experiences, is because they occur when you got nothing but time, in a way that you can't do right now.
And I think that the difference between you and me gaming wise is that I can't play multiple games at once. I just can't do it. Like I don't even try. I start a game and then that's the game that I'm playing until I'm done with it. And I think that F-Zero hitting me that hard that early was a big one, because F-Zero has a shit ton of content. It has like 5 cups, and each cup is like 5 different tracks, and there's like a hidden difficulty level that you can only unlock if you beat all the other difficulty levels, and then if you beat all of the cups on the highest secret difficulty level, then you get a secret, super secret cup with even more weird tracks. And each cup has tracks that are more difficult and complex than the last. And then in addition to that, there is a story mode where there are 10 missions, where the mission isn't just to win the race, but it is some extremely difficult, specific goal that is always involves driving a car, to be sure. But that's fucking incredible, because the story mode, each mission has a normal mode, which will take you about a week of dedicated trying and retrying to complete. And then it unlocks the hard mode. And then if you break your back getting to win the hard mode and you finally heave your corpse across the finish line, it's like, dope. Now you've unlocked very hard mode.
I thought you were going to say mirror mode.
Nope, very hard mode. And that's when my little fucking teenage ape brain started hooting like a maniac. And also, did I mention there's like 36 different cars, each of which looks different, handles so, like, they handle so differently. Like, the mechanics are the same with every car, but they may as well not be, because, like, different cars that have, on paper, similar stats, like, you have to turn, like, the way that your brain has to process the concept of I have to turn is so different. And if you're like, Tom, why don't you just play the cars that you like? Well, that's because if you beat all the cups on very hard with a car, you get a special video where the character who drives the car is in a little funny movie. And I wanted to see them all, and I did.
Yeah, that was definitely worth 100 hours of your time.
It fucking was. I love it.
Oh, Jesus Christ. This is also probably why you hate multiplayer games so much, by which I mean like online stuff. You have very low tolerance for it, where I'm fine with it. Like, I don't love playing with randos anymore because I have to hear a stranger talk sometimes, but it does not repulse me the way it does you.
I fucking hate it. And a lot of it is not only just like, I hate to hear the voice of another human being. It is hateful to me, repulsive, yuck, get it away, bleh. That's a big part of it for sure. But another is like, my sense of process in like learning a game and overcoming challenge is that like I will take a hunk of raw iron into the mountains, and then when I am ready, I will descend a samurai with my katana. What I don't want is to be given a hunk of raw iron and then get pushed into a public pool and a bunch of people hit me with swords, and I'm like, my sword's still a hunk of raw iron, and they're like, we don't care, idiot, and they cut my head off, and I'm like, finally, the sweet release of death, and then it's like, no, respawn, try again, and I get my head cut off again, and it's like, I know what it takes for me to get good at this, and what this fucking online experience is giving me is not that.
Yeah. I relate. Like, I'm not that way. I see where you're coming from. I think it's wrong, but I completely understand why your brain is like that.
The fun thing about F-Zero, and there's many fun things, but one of the things that's absolutely amazing about it that makes it so enduring and made it so that I was able to put that many hours into it is that the engine that like runs the whole game, people kept finding what may have been unintended, maybe they were intended, mechanics that would allow you to go even faster.
What you are describing sounds like speed running.
I mean, it is, because that's the only thing you do in the game is to run at speed.
I know, but when you like start noticing like, oh, here's a weird behavior with the game engine that I don't know if it's intentional or not, you're starting to talk like a speed runner.
Yeah. Yo, I think what it is the same thing about how I love Cookie Clicker, because it just takes the part that is good and strips out literally everything else. F-Zero just takes the part that's good about speedrunning and then like takes out the game. And it's just like, no, now this is the only part that's left. Really hone this thing and do it insanely fast. And it's not like, oh, I'm running fucking Zelda. I'm running Ocarina of Time really fast and skipping the story. There's no story to skip. This is the only thing you can do. Like, here are some of the fucking mechanics that were found and are true, and you have to do them to be good at F-Zero. One, there's a lot of boost pads on all the tracks that are these big flashing yellow arrows where you get on them and it makes you go super fast for a brief period of time. They are difficult to hit because they're kind of small and you're going insanely fast. And if you turn in a way that isn't right, you lose total control of your car and die. So it's hard to hit them. And also, you have to hit every single one of them. If you miss one of them, you fucking start over. Hit retry, you failed. Here's the wild thing. If you only just scrape the very edge of one of the boost pads, like barely touch it.
I hate this already. This sucks.
It lasts like twice as long.
I hate this.
Here's another thing that fucking whips. There's a lot of times where you go off a big jump and you're just flying in the air and you have to re-land on the track. You might be tempted to just keep the button that makes you go pushed down. No, what you gotta do is, one, angle your car down so that you start getting the gravity boost where you just get pulled to the ground by the force of gravity, which gives you a speed boost. But in order for that to actually translate, you need to, at the last second, re-angle yourself flat so that you do not lose all of that momentum as you hit on your fucking nose cone. Another thing is that the button that makes you go, the gas pedal, you would say, you might be tempted into thinking that that's what makes your car shoot fires, that makes you go forward. But what it actually does is it makes you go to your top speed. And if you are going above your top speed, pressing the gas pedal will make you go to your top speed, which is to say slow down. And you actually slow down slower when you're above your top speed if you just let the button go and coast. So you have to know when to do that, but you also have to know exactly what your specific car's top speed is, because when you hit that top speed, you have to press the go button and hold it down. Otherwise, you're fucked.
It's absolutely fucked. that you can make a game where slamming the gas pedal might make you go slower. That's the most awful shit I've ever heard.
Here's the even better part, Joe. So you have your car's health, yeah, where if you run out of health and then hit a wall or something, your car explodes and you die. Here's the fun thing. Your boost power is your car's health.
I remember this because I would just slam on boost and then be destroyed because a leaf hit me.
Exactly. Yes. But here's the fun part, Joe. If you die, if your car runs out of health and you enter the death animation, if you cross the finish line before your car actually explodes, that's considered a finish. And here's another thing, Joe. If you use your last boost, your last bit of health to boost, and you hit the wall at an angle, you will careen off the wall much faster than you could go normally. And does that mean that the only way to get a good score is to intentionally kill yourself right at the end of the third lap? Yes.
Video games are dumb as shit. I love them.
Here's another thing. Here's another thing that was found out. So obviously when you fall off the track, you go faster because you're falling. But what was discovered is that if you go off the track for a second and then immediately slam the other way, you can get back on the track before you actually start falling off, but you still get that speed boost. So when you're on a straightaway on a piece of road that doesn't have guardrails, what you should be doing is constantly falling off and jumping back on in order to maintain an extremely high speed boost.
Does that look extremely janky in game?
Yeah, it looks stupid, and it's so hard. You die a lot by accident.
Oh, good God.
This game fucking whips. And I love it. And here's the thing about F-Zero GX is that everyone who played it and likes it loves it. Like, everyone who played it and didn't like it is like, well, this is too hard. And the people who didn't play it is most of the people on the planet. But the people who liked it fucking love it. And Nintendo keeps going like, well, we know that there are fans out there who love F-Zero and want a new game. But honestly, we pretty much hit the peak with that GameCube one. Like, we only make a new game if we think we can do something new or make it better. I think we've hit F-Zero's peak. And two opinions about that. One, honestly, I gotta give them props that they are right. Like, I cannot think of anything that they could do to an F-Zero game to make it better than that, other than just add more cars and more tracks. And I understand why they don't want to put an entire staff's worth of people on just that. Two, that said, that excuse would hold a lot more water if it was fucking possible to play F-Zero GX in 2020. It's like crazily hard. It was never re-released for anything. You have to get a GameCube.
That blows. They're like, you'd like that, wouldn't you? Anyway, gotta go. It's not like you can't throw that shit on the Switch.
Yeah, yes. And here's the thing. I didn't even talk about the graphics. Like, the graphics, if you put that game on Switch today, people would be like, this looks pretty good for Switch. It's like insane how good it looks. And there are 30 cars in every race. And they all are fucking have AI running and they're going super fast and it's 60 frames per second. And I don't know how this game is possible, but it is. Oh, also did I mention that when you're not doing a trial, there are 30 other cars and also there's car combat and you can kill the other cars and you should be killing the other cars.
Yeah, the only part I remember for F-Zero 64 was how fun it was to ram people.
It fucking whips. You can spin around and the front and back of your car have these little energy balls that shred other guys. Also, you have an awesome like sidestep move where you sort of juke to the side at like an inch. And it's really hard to hit as a result. But if you hit a car with it, you can basically take it from full health to dead instantly. So if you're really good, you can just be a stone cold killer and just methodically murder every single other car in the entire fucking race. And here's the other fun things that in the Grand Prix and the Cups that you have to unlock to get the new tracks, you get points based on how you placed in each track, and it accumulates throughout the entire cup. And the game has a little icon above your rival, the person who is either closest to you in points or who is above you. And so what you got to do is put all your effort into killing that guy and then like the rival icon will move to another guy, and then you kill that guy. And you can get to the point where you're at the final track of the cup, and it's literally impossible for you to lose. Like, you could not place, and you would still win.
Because all your enemies are dead and in the ground?
Yes! It's the best fucking feeling. Like, they come back the next race, but they got 0 points for that previous one. So they're out of the running. They can't win. And you're just the king.
So you're obviously a huge fan of racing games today, right? You definitely play a lot of them.
No, I hate racing games. They're boring. The idea of driving a car sucks ass. The experience of driving a car is so different from the experience of driving an F-Zero machine, because cars kind of go at like a speed that's normal, that like makes any sense.
Yeah, and they noticeably experience friction.
Yeah, I hate that. No, I refuse. I will never do that. Also, a lot of them are, again, multiplayer focused, which I simply refuse to do. I just won't do that. I hate that. Give me a hunk of iron and a misty mountain with a secret glade. Sicko mode, sicko mode, sicko mode. 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 So, previously we talked about Media Brain. Famously, we did the Media Brain episode. It's a famous episode, and we're famous. And in it, we sort of concluded with the fact that all these people with Media Brain, having their brain in this powerful configuration, it's not something that can happen naturally. It's supernatural, in fact. And we concluded that it's because all of these people have eaten a devil fruit called the Maddow-Maddow Fruit. Now, here's the thing about the Maddow-Maddow Fruit. It's a zoan type, which is a fruit that corresponds to a living creature. Now, the thing about zoan-type fruits is that, there's a lot of different species of living creature, and they're all sort of under the same category. And that means that there can be a lot of different variations on the same fruit. Like, you can have a guy who can turn into a leopard, and you can have a guy who can turn into a tiger, and you can have a guy who can turn into a lion. They all ate the cat fruit. But they ate different types. They ate the cat fruit model leopard, the cat fruit model tiger. You get where I'm going here.
Yeah, I feel like if you ate the cat fruit and it's just like a normal kitty cat, and then you see a guy who can be a tiger, you'd feel like a real asshole.
Yeah, you ate a shitty fruit. I can turn into a tiger and disembowel someone. You are a widow baby who drinks milk out of a dish. We are not the same. So, today, we want to take some time to really dive into the Maddow-Maddow Fruit and go through some of the different models that you might see in your own everyday life, because fucking prominent people have eaten these fruits. One of the most prominent and pernicious models of the Maddow-Maddow Fruit is the Maddow-Maddow Fruit model Urbanite.
Yeah, so this is more common than it should be, unfortunately, and people who've consumed this fruit have this horrible brain thing where they think if you live in a blue state, you are inherently a virtuous person. And if you live in a red state, sucks for you.
Yeah, you deserve to die. You are holding me back. They seem to think that, like, living in a city is, like, a really hard thing to do. That you can only unlock the skill of living in a city if your, like, morality stat is really high. And, like, if you don't live in a city, you're a fucking parasite and a drain on society, you dumb bitch.
Yeah, recently Preet Bharara tweeted about how the United States and the federal government should not be subsidizing Kentucky. He did the shitty thing where you point out that blue states generate all the federal revenue and people who receive federal aid in red states are undeserving of it. That's fucked up.
He's going into that logic trap where he's like, Mitch McConnell's evil. Mitch McConnell's from Kentucky. Kentucky is where the sinners live.
Yeah, and I mean, when he says that, he is also ultimately saying those people shouldn't get Medicaid.
Yeah. Another prominent consumer of the Maddow-Maddow Fruit model Urbanite is film critic Movie Bob, who should just stick to writing movie reviews. I am unusual among lefties in that I think his movie reviews are, like, okay. It's just that every day, in addition to doing that, he gets on Twitter and says that people who don't live in big cities are robbing him of the, utopian future he was promised by sci-fi movies, and they should be eugenics out of the human race. And everyone's like, hey, buddy, no. And he won't shut up.
Do you have the actual tweet?
Joe, that is a fallacious question because there's not a single one tweet that says this. This is fucking every week he has a new one.
It's also very funny to me because he imagines himself as a paragon of liberal virtue, and he just lives in Boston. Like, he's just in Boston. He's just a guy in Boston. It's not a skill.
Yeah, but he's an urbanite, which means he's good. That's a sort of weird side effect of this is that they think like, well, if I wanted to be a good person, I would simply move to the city. As though like there would never be a circumstance that would prevent or dissuade someone from moving to a city. They cannot fathom that someone would want to stay in a sinner's state.
Yeah, I don't think either of them could wrap their head around that people don't choose where they live completely based on career choices. Like you might live somewhere, and even if you don't like it, you might want to stay in that community, even if it is not a economic powerhouse.
I think part of it is that they just have this idea in their mind that it's like a cartoon where like in the city every like building has eyes and is sort of like doing a happy dance, and as soon as you go outside of the city limits, it's like a hard palette swap to like barbed wire everywhere. Everything's gray. Around every corner there's like an angry guy who is like got a tattoo of a skull with X's for eyes and is dressed like a sailor.
Yeah, everything is Steamboat Willie in a city, right? Everything is just bouncing and happy, and then the minute you leave, it's I don't know, fucking the Saw movies or something.
Yeah, and a lot of people try to hide that they've eaten the Maddow-Maddow Fruit model urbanite, but anytime someone is like, red states think they're so great deciding who's our president, they don't make money like we do. That's what this is.
It's also kind of dumb because money isn't real, and all the value being created in cities when you make 8 different apps that fuck up your delivery order isn't like something to be excited about. The fact that Rust Belt cities don't have massive tech labs and incubators like New York City or San Francisco is not a moral failing.
Yeah, and it's not as though those states decided, like, they didn't get up one day and were like, what would really kick ass is if all of our jobs went away. I would love it if someone decided to close all the factories that we need to make money. I guarantee that the people who made those decisions, where do they live? Probably New York City.
Yeah, it's probably a Wall Street thing, for sure.
All right, so the next model of the Maddow-Maddow Fruit is one that, Joe, I know this is close to your heart. It's the Maddow-Maddow Fruit model confusing, where the user becomes a confusing human.
So Tom and I initially talked about each coming up with a list of our favorite posters or the most powerful posters. And I want to clarify that many of the people on my list are not good. They are just really in it. And one of them is my man, Yashar Ali, who is a journalist, I think.
Big quotes. Big quotes.
I don't mean like denigrating his work. I mean like he does write for like major publications like New York Magazine and shit like that. But then his main thing seems to be talking about how Chrissy Teigen is his best friend.
It's so hard to know what his deal is. Like, he will every once in a while be like, here's a story I reported on. And it's like a real news story. And then the other 9 months are like, if you don't have 18 towels, you aren't you belong in the poorhouse. You are a disgusting person.
The thing that I still think about all the time is there was that Charlie's Angels remake with Elizabeth Banks. And when that hit theaters, he tweeted this like announcement that in celebration of Elizabeth Banks's life and her accomplishments, he was buying out showings to Charlie's Angels in cities where Elizabeth Banks has lived.
Oh my God.
this was the most mind-blowing thing to read. And everyone was like, this rules, dude. I'm really proud of you. And I couldn't, like, it was so foreign to me.
And like, this is not a marketing scheme that the Charlie's Angels people came up with. This was Yashar just vibing.
He just loves her so much, I guess, and he really likes this remake, which I don't know anything about.
You're wondering, like, okay, does he actually know Elizabeth Banks, like, as a friend? Or is this just like a weird clout chasing thing he's doing? That's the power of the Maddow-Maddow Fruit model confusing, folks. It is so hard to know what his fucking deal is.
I have no idea. He's definitely in with celebrities because he's doing like the Chrissy Teigen posting, but he still is a full-time journalist. Like, he still is. So I don't know what's going on there.
One of the things that he did that I gotta respect as one of the most powerful posting moves is, for a long time, his avatar was like a weird angle of like a side of his face that made him look like a sexy cosmopolitan, like fit young guy who looked like maybe 30.
Yeah, he looked really hot. He looked very mysterious in that old avatar. The problem is he doesn't look anything like that, because I saw a picture of him on TV and I was shocked. I was absolutely shocked when I saw his name under him. I was just like, there's what? What?
Like, to be clear, he looks really normal. Like, he does not look bad at all.
No, it's just like a different guy.
There's like 20 years and 50 pounds on what that picture insinuates.
Yes, he's just a different guy. Like, it is such a big brain move to have your avatar like that, and also still go on TV, like, to just do both. Like, that is so powerful. That is so confident.
It's incredible. Like, just understanding his deal is an impossible task. Don't try to do it. You'll get fucked up. It's like, how did he, like, what is he known for? Like, where did he get the following from originally? That, like, the following is what lets him fuck around with his Elizabeth Banks and Chrissy Teigen shit, and lets him say that, like, if you don't have 15 bath towels, 20 body towels, 20 hand towels, and 20 wash towels, you aren't an adult yet. It's what lets him get away with shit like that. But, like, where did it start? You'll never find out.
No. He's a simulation, maybe. He could just be like an AI program. I don't know, but it pisses me off.
All right, so the next Maddow-Maddow Fruit model that we're going to talk about is the Maddow-Maddow Fruit model Berserker, most famously eaten by another confusing person, Zenny Hardeen.
So, is that actually how you say it? Is it Zenny, like with a Z?
Well, it's hard to say because her original name is some white lady's name, but then she stole Spanish words for her fake name. So I guess if you were saying it with Spanish pronunciation, it would be like Seni, maybe? I don't know. It's hard to say. We're white guy idiots.
We're saying it like it's the currency for Mega Man Legends, Zenny. We're saying Zenny.
Yes. Joe, she is a berserker in that what she does is decides that there is some great villain, and then she spends 100% of her time posting extremely furiously as though that she's doing damage to a boss.
Yes. Yeah, she thinks she's getting all critical hits. So who is she? She is the co-editor for Boing Boing, which would probably mean more if blogs were more of a thing as opposed to all content coming to you in a single feed like an awful trough.
And what does she do now, Joe? What does she do now?
Well, now she thinks most things are a Russian op. I'm just going to read a tweet. Can I just read a fucking tweet?
You can indeed.
So she tweeted this on the 25th of April. I don't buy the Tara Reid shit. I'm not here to defend any man whose shortcomings and past dumb moves are widely known. I'm here to karate chop disinfo and dirty tricks in an election year. This is a perfect example of the final stage of online. It's when you refer to posting as anything other than posting. She is saying her tweets are actually karate chopping disinformation. Posting is only posting. The minute you suggest it's an heroic effort, it's a part of a larger program, a vision of the world, you're too far gone. It's over. You fucked up.
Fucking correct. And she is an incredible off the deep end person because she not only thinks that, but like anytime anyone says like, oh, you're just posting weird, like all you're doing is posting a weird thing, she then goes berserker mode and changes her target to be that person and is like, she's like an expert at what time it is in Russia so that she can cite like what time in Russia it was when posts were made. If you say like, hey, you're fucking wrong, why don't you believe Tara Reid? She's like, oh, I don't know, maybe because she said Putin wasn't so bad in a Medium post. And it's just like, huh, like, what are you, like, why are you so mad? It's because she ate the Maddow-Maddow Fruit model berserker.
Yeah, the thing that's really cool about her berserker tweets, which to be clear is all of them, is that they have the like tone and humor that feels like it's trapped in 2010. Let me read you this. I am not a cook. I am a crazy-ass murder bitch, and I'm not a psycho. I'm just going to cut your head off, metaphorically speaking, with my searing intellect and feed it to you dying ass.
Oh my god. I love how she will sprinkle in AAVE. Yes, one of her most famous posts was asking someone who, I don't even know what they were doing. They were probably like, hey, Zenny, what's wrong with you? And she said, homie, what set you rep? And everyone was like, you're 50 and white. Huh? And then she'll always cite that like when she was like 12, she like lived in an abandoned factory with like 10 metal bands, as though that's good.
Yeah, recently she's been talking about how she's cool because when she was 14, she drank beer with the band Guar, which, I don't know. When I was 14, I just played Diablo.
If someone told me that, like, oh, when I was 14, I drank beer with the band Guar, I'd be like, can I help? Like, what can I do to help you?
It's also a very strange thing to say when you're a fully grown adult and you're insisting the stuff you did with adults when you were not an adult makes you cool. It's kind of weird.
Yeah. Are you saying that you would like it if more 14-year-olds went and hung out with metal? It's not. Let's move on. The next Maddow-Maddow Fruit I'd like to talk about is the Maddow-Maddow Fruit model Pinocchio, which makes you a fact-check human. Daniel Dale ate this. He is a fact-checked guy who used to work for the Toronto Star and now works for, I think, CNN. And his entire job is to take stuff Donald Trump says and be like, that's not true.
I want to make the distinction for Daniel Dale that all these other people we mentioned ate the fruit willingly. I feel like Daniel Dale got tricked into eating this. Like,
yes. He got served a fruit salad that was very delightful. But the one in the center, the fruit in the center, oh no, it changed him.
Yeah, because he was just a regular reporter and then he wound up falling into this career of listening to everything Trump says and then like solemnly tweet, Trump did not invent Captain Crunch. He did not meet him. He's not real. And then everyone like laughs. And then he thinks like this is an important skill he's doing because it doesn't matter the shit he says.
And like Daniel Dale is excusable because again, it is his job. You know, he is hired to do this. But like there are many people who have eaten the Maddow-Maddow Fruit model Pinocchio who think that like when Donald Trump is like, we got a big, beautiful wall, folks. The beautiful wall has machine guns that shoots all the Mexicans, folks. They're dying, folks. It's beautiful. We love to see them die. We love their blood, folks. And they think that it's like an epic own to be like, there actually aren't any machine guns on the wall. Take that, Drumpf. And it's like, that's not the problem.
Yeah, Glenn Kessler is the perfect example of this. He definitely thinks his fact-checking is altering the fate of the Republic. It's funny because Glenn Kessler himself is like a princeling of an oil baron. He's a fancy boy who got his journalist start, no doubt because his father owns, I don't know, some insane amount of wealth related to fossil fuels.
Yep. I mean, it's just the idea that Trump's power is that people don't know he's lying. Like, what year do you think this is? We know it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and I forgive thinking this like 2 months into the presidency. I think now as we approach the 2020 mark, if you're still playing this game, you just like losing, right? Like, this is a humiliation thing at this point.
Yeah. You want to score points, but you don't actually want things to change.
Yeah. Glenn Kessler is very funny to me because he rates lies in severity based on Pinocchios.
And so, yeah, someone was like, you need to more clearly specify like how much of a lie something is, because it seems very subjective. And he's like, it is not subjective. I have a very clear scale. 4 Pinocchios is a Whopper.
This is a grown man who like gets up every day and he's like, people need to know what I consider a Pinocchio. And he gets paid a ton of money. Like, people have to go to work with this guy and know that, like, over by Glenn's desk, he's working hard identifying all of the Pinocchios.
Fuck. Joe, there's a lot of Maddow-Maddow fruits. We can't get to them all. And, you know, as we've been talking through this, like, I know I said that Zoan-type fruits, like the Maddow-Maddow fruit, have a lot of different varieties. But, like, this seems like just too many. Like, how did they get so many?
So I'm not that far in One Piece, but I did hit the point where they have encountered a organization that is mass producing devil fruits, and some of them are kind of shitty. They don't all work.
That's actually, Joe, I think you may have solved the mystery, because yes, there are mass-produced artificial devil fruits in One Piece, and I think that has to be what's going on with the Maddow-Maddow fruit, because as you say, not every mass-produced devil fruit actually works. Some of the times when you eat it, instead of getting a cool power, you just get absolutely fucked up. Now, in the series, what this means is that you sort of lose the ability to show any emotion but glee, so you constantly have a Joker smile on, even though you're, like, fucking not happy, and it sucks. And you also don't get a power, and you also can't swim. Like, it's very bad to eat a mass-produced devil fruit and have it fuck up.
So that's what happens in the show. What happens in real life, which is governed by slightly different rules?
If you eat a mass-produced Maddow-Maddow fruit and it's a dud, you become a Sir Human.
Yeah, you are the guy who's always replying to Trump tweets that's like, sir, you are an embarrassment to the office. Sir, excuse me, sir, you can't do that.
Sir, you may think you signed that executive order, but you're actually an orange embarrassment, you Cheeto Mussolini. You're getting impeached by the Mueller report. And it's just like, oh, man.
Yeah, those tweets are extra depressing because if they're in Trump's replies, it's for sure like above or below a burning cross.
And in order for them to get the placement that they need, they have to be spending 24 hours a day refreshing Donald Trump's Twitter feed so that they can reply immediately with some Sir content.
Yeah, that's the good shit. They definitely have push notifications on their phone, and they have like zingers all teed up.
Just imagine paying that much attention to motherfucking Donald Trump's Twitter so that you could say, like, sir, you actually suck ass.
Where does this sir come from? Like, this is such like an online thing where like when people retweet senators, they either do a death threat or they do like the Aaron Sorkin thing where you're like, sir, I believe you're mistaken. I don't know where this shit came from. Is this a TV thing?
I think so. It's hard to say. I think it might be like a kill 'em with kindness thing where it's like, oh, you're so crude. Well, not me. I'm civil and smart. And as you can see, it supercharges my posting. And doesn't this make you look like even more of a boor? And it's like, them looking like a boor was never a problem for them. It was actually good for them.
They always looked bad, but now you look like a huge dweeb for no reason. Like you just called attention to yourself.
Well, there is a reason they ate a Maddow-Maddow fruit that was a dud, and it cursed them.
They're compelled to do that forever until their body gives up the ghost. I understand.
So, Joe, another thing to talk about the Maddow-Maddow fruit is that, Maddow fruit's named after Rachel Maddow, a liberal commentator in the media. All these people that we've been talking about who have eaten Maddow-Maddow fruits are liberals. I kind of wonder, are there any conservatives who have eaten the Maddow-Maddow fruit? What's the deal there?
No, because devil fruits are just normal fruits to them. They're ice-chewing monsters that just want to turn you into a tax cut. They don't need to eat a fruit. They don't have powers. They don't need powers because they have lawyers.
Yeah, their bodies cannot be transformed because they are devil bodies that are not human. They don't have a soul that is malleable enough to be changed by a devil fruit. They just came like that. Devil fruits that carry the power of the devil, it's their power. They made them.
Yeah. They also need to be able to swim because they swim in magma.
That's true. That makes perfect sense now that I think about it. Fuck. Joe, I think that's all for Anime Sickos this week.
I'm Joe, an Anime Sicko.
I'm Tom, an Anime Sicko. Thank you all for listening, and we'll see you next time. Thank you for listening to Anime Sickos. I've been Tom, a sicko. You can follow me on Twitter at TomHarrison19. Joe is also a sicko. You can follow him on Twitter at ShariaUncle. You can follow Anime Sickos on Twitter at Anime Sickos, or email us at animesickos@gmail.com. Please leave us a review or something. I don't know. Tell a friend. Anyway, until next time, bye.